Hi guys, and welcome to my channel. In this video, I want to talk about letting go of the bitterness that can, emerge in us after dealing with narcissistic abuse. Before I get into the topic, I always like to extend the invitation to all my newcomers. If you are interested in hearing more videos about narcissistic abuse, please subscribe to the channel and hit the bell and you'll be notified. I do upload videos quite frequently. And you can actually go into the playlist that I've already created, which there's two concerning narcissistic abuse. I have other playlists on other topics that you may be interested in. So you can go ahead and look into those as well. Let's go ahead and talk about the bitterness. Now, after someone comes into your life and turns it upside down, disrespects you, lie, you see that the whole relationship is basically a sham. You were the only one keeping it real. You were the only one being genuine and sincere, and it certainly wasn't being reciprocated. And then in some instances, it may have gone to the level of marriage. Now you're going through this nasty divorce. Maybe you've had children. Now you're in and out of court with custody issues. Or, maybe the narcissist has just gone on to the news supply and act like you guys never existed. Don't want to pay any child support. Don't want to be there for the child. Wasn't never there for the child to begin with. And, this is going to stir up some feelings. They dumped out your life savings. Your credit is in shams. There's multiple things that could have gone. You're just realizing, excuse my French, all the fuckery. And sometimes it's in hindsight that you're connecting the dots even from the beginning of the relationship, where they were already manipulating and twisting your mind up and just all the things that they've seemingly gotten away with. Because trust me, they've done much. Even if it was brief, they have done much towards you and offensively. And, it's horrible. We can all admit that it's a horrible thing. It could be heartbreaking, gut-wrenching. It could send you into a spiral of depression, make you literally hate men, make you hypervigilant, where you just never going to trust. You just in that space where you feel like you're never going to trust anyone again, and you're extremely suspicious of human beings. I mean, it can send you there. And these are all natural feelings to feel initially. But once we do the work, we can start lifting, I call these burdens, lifting these burdens off of us. Because what are these attributes and these feelings doing? They're bringing our spirit down. They're bringing our soul down. They're bringing our concentration down. And when this is happening, it's taking us off of task. Whatever we should be focusing on, we can't, because we're stuck. We're stuck in this horrible feeling from dealing with a horrible person. So, of course, we know that we have to let go of this bitterness. We have to let go of the bitterness. And it's hard. It is so hard, especially if you have, like I was saying, ongoing reminders. If you attached yourself to the narcissist in some kind of way where you would be reminded you had children together, you were married, you bought a house or an expensive thing, you started a business together that you have to resolve or figure out. I mean, they find ways when they meet you to get all tied up and intermingled into your life. But even with all of that, we have to get to a place where we learn how to let go of the bitterness. Because even after we've lifted all these things off of us, bitterness can still be there. And what is the bitterness? Just that sheer, sharp resentment for even having to go through that. The resentment that you were the targeted. The resentment that they chose to do all of that stuff to you. Granted, they're going to do it to other people, that you had to be a part of the bunch. That you had to go through that experience. There can be a bitterness behind that. When you know, hey, I was actually just genuinely trying to be sincere. Actually, let me just talk about my situation just briefly. So I was dating the narcissist for a couple months. I seen some very nasty things about the narcissist, called him out on him. We had a horrible argument and I dumped him, basically, let him know that I didn't want any more parts of him. So about for 4 or 5 months, this narcissist attempted to hoover me back into his life, and he actually succeeded. Around month 4 or 5, as I've said in other videos, I took that as some type of sincerity, like, okay, maybe this person is really sorry. They've been trying for quite a bit of time. Maybe it wasn't that bad. Maybe this time will be better. And I let this creature back into my life and things only got worse. But, this time when I let the person back in, I was actually very guarded with this narcissist, and I observed everything that he was doing in a way that I don't even know if he realized it. And I wasn't as emotionally involved as I was the first time around, because I wasn't 100% sold on it to begin with, especially now that I've seen that ugly face where the mask kind of dropped basically the first round. So here we are in our second round, 2 to 3 months in from that. And of course, I'm seeing what I knew before. And I'm praying to my God. I was like, you know what, God, I see the pattern this time. I see it. And instead of trying to work it out with this person, instead of being stubborn about things, I see that this person is not going to work for the better of my life. I'm going to let this person go. But guess what? My narcissist ended up raping me shortly thereafter. I had a 2-hour conversation with the person, letting them know, hey, let's focus on other parts of the relationship, because the trust had been broken between him and I. Instead of breaking it completely off, I kept a toe in there and I was like, okay, let's just focus on other parts of the relationship. I let the narcissist know that I did not want to be sexually involved with him, because he was talking a lot of baby talk, which insinuated to me him wanting to trap me. He knew I did not want to put the cart before the horse. It was very important that I had a marriage with any children that I conceived. He knew these things were very important to me. But they went against his master plan. He had already had a goal to try to trap me in his life. He raped me and I conceived out of it. Yep, I conceived out of it. But because he raped me, that was my saving grace in this whole situation of being able to get him out of my life and my child's life. That was my saving grace. But I don't even know what my life would be like if he hadn't raped me. And I conceived that child, and here we are going back and forth about X, Y, and Z and this and that. But just keeping him in my life for a second too long. So I later had a bitterness to God, because I was like, well, God, I was actually willing to let this person go. I was willing to back away from this situation, because it even had gotten to that part. After I told him I didn't want to have sex with him, it moved to the part of me not even just wanting to be in that relationship. So I'm like, God, I was actually backing away from this person, and all of this stuff still happened. So I had a bitterness because I felt robbed of having a husband and having the support that I needed for my pregnancy. Having to take care of everything myself, that left a bitterness. And to even have to come about the situation in that way, it wasn't very loving. He raped me. So, I had a bitterness. I had a bitterness that I really needed to work through, because I felt so violated. It was so offensive to me. Like, this person sat down with me in the first round of dating and looked me in the eye. He understood where my values and morals were about bringing a child into the world, and where I was at that time in my life as a 35-year-old woman. I didn't have time for to be playing games or to just be bed hopping with people or laying down with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. I had value on that. Bringing a life into the world, that's a big deal to me. Some people may not value life as much, but I valued that. Our families are forever connected. The family trees. So, these things are valuable to me. But either way, I had to work through that bitterness that I felt, because I certainly felt a bitterness behind that, because I felt robbed. But I had to start focusing on what I gained instead of what I felt like I lost. And this is important in letting go of bitterness, because bitterness stems from focusing on the negative. So as long as you focus on that negative, and it's true, whatever we focus on, it amplifies in our life. That's why we need to quit thinking about the narcissist all the time, because it's just going to keep taking us back to that space. We're going to start thinking about the things that they've done, and we know they ain't do nothing good. So it's all going to be bad. But if I sit now in my life and I think about the positive things that have come out of that situation, because actually there were some positive things that came out of this very, very ugly situation. And that's my beautiful child that gives me so much love. And I think God knew that once I was through with this person, because there are things that I won't really talk about on this channel that occurred outside of the rape, but he knew I was going to need that much more love. That baby gives me so much love. It just fills my heart with joy. It gave me a ministry. It gave me an outreach to be able to come on YouTube, to write books about my experiences, to connect with other people that have gone through abusive situations and let them know it was going to be all right. Do you know how many people reach out to me and tell me that I inspire them? So many people. And all because I went through that situation, that I'm able to connect. God knew that I would have that voice. He knew that I would have the words. He knew that I would be bold enough and brave enough to go ahead and do this. So he put me through that so that I can help other people through it. And not only that, I needed to learn some things through that whole situation. There are things that I learned out of that horrible relationship that have refined me in a way and matured me emotionally and in my heart. Because I didn't grow up with a lot of guidance. So I was relationally on a low level, learning how to understand reading people's energy, knowing what's good for me and what's bad for me, understanding how to deal with men and toxic men. Because that wasn't my first abusive relationship, but it was my worst one. Just wasn't my first one, but it was my worst one. But that's what happens in life when we don't hear the whispers. Then it starts talking to you. Then you start hearing a yell. Then it's a scream. We don't want to keep going up. And that's why a lot of you may see where you've been attracting a worse narcissist progressively in your life. They're getting worse and worse because the universe is trying to get you to understand something. The universe is trying to get you to see. And they're trying to give you a stronger message because the other one that was a little softer didn't work. And that's why even if you keep going back to the same narcissist, they keep treating you worse every time. It's like, damn, like you don't even think they can top or go any lower. They can. And they will if you allow them back in. Okay? So we have to let go of the bitterness, even if you have some consequences out of it. What do you have that's positive in your life that you can begin to focus on rather than the negative, which is going to keep you in a state of bitterness? And, I'm a realist. Every now and then I have those moments where I feel it and it never feels good when I think about that situation and the consequences and the pain that I've endured, physical pain, giving birth by myself, having my stomach cut open for that baby to be born, all the pain that I felt in the healing process of that, which was a constant reminder of my rape and everything else that I went through to even get to that point. But it didn't last forever. So when I see myself thinking about something that is bitter, I go ahead and replace it with something positive. I acknowledge it. I'm not going to turn a blind eye about that because it's real. But I then go ahead and find a way to get positive. Okay, I can acknowledge it and move forward. Because it's not going to help to just wallow in it after a certain point. You know, there's times where we need to really sit down and figure things out, and so that we don't repeat things moving forward. But then there's a time when we're just flat out wallowing, because I've already pretty much connected my dots. I understand what I contributed to that situation, and even allowing a toxic person to be in my life a second too long. Okay? So we're pushing past 15 minutes here, so I'm going to go ahead and stop this video. But if you have bitterness, it means that you're dwelling too much in a negative. You got to start focusing on the positive. It doesn't mean you're going to forget about what happened, because you never will. It doesn't mean none of that negative stuff will ever cross your mind. But the way that you deal with it when it does, that's going to determine whether you're dwelling in that bitterness or you're acknowledging it and then just going on ahead and moving past it, replacing it with something positive. Okay? All right. I'm going to make another video about this bitterness, because I think there's some more things that I do want to say about this. But I don't want any video to get too long, because I know we all have lives and things to lead. So if this video has resonated with you, go ahead and click the like button. And as always, you are always free to share any and all of my videos. And until next time, take care.